Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. Been a while since we've gotten together with her, but I've learned so much in the times that we've talked about how the mind works, how there are so many other therapies out there that can make you feel better, support you, especially if you've been through a trauma. Now, I'm going to say this, and you might disagree with it, or you might just say, no, that's impossible. I don't know how. We've all been through traumas. Now, a lot of times we think of something like a car accident, passing of a loved one, certainly traumatic, but there's other things that we may have experienced, even as kids. Normal stuff in your life as a kid that can prevent you from moving your life forward. Craniosacral therapy and so many other modalities like that she offers can help you out with it. KellyAnne Riden is back with us. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Very well, very well. In my journey learning about these traumas, I don't even know the word to describe it. It's mind blowing to know what some of these things that we experience as kids are doing to us as adults in terms of holding us back. Can you give some examples of maybe some things that we may have experienced? I call them the little T traumas, not the big T traumas, and how that may maybe hold us back as we become adults.
Sure, absolutely. We actually had a case of someone late in their 40s who came through and just was struggling with just relationships in work, bosses, I think their spouse, their kiddos. And a lot of it kind of stemmed around an instance when they were younger and they had a traumatic event, I think around the age of 3. And that same theme kind of just kept following them because they were never really able to process it, get through it, kind of get over it, and then be able to take on the next incident that kind of held the same theme. So a lot of it kind of like was like a snowball, it just kind of kept growing and growing and growing. And then once they hit in their 40s, my goodness, they were slapped with labels with anxiety and depression and just multiple stacked medications to counteract side effects from the mental health medication. And it was just so hard to see this person struggling with these things. And honestly, it sounds almost like cartoonish of like, really? Is that it? That was the thing? So basically,
Mm.
we kind of traced it back down to when she was age 3. She was riding a tricycle somewhere, but there was a set of stairs, whether it was like the front porch stairs, the side set of stairs of the house, or wherever she was. But she remembers being on this tricycle, and then all of a sudden, boom, hits her head straight on. Now, I mean, it wasn't a blunt force trauma in the sense that like there was blood spewing out or anything like that. But it was enough to like just startle her and shake her. But there was no one around to tell her like, you're okay, shake it off, like you're good. And this actually manifested with later on in life, just all the themes of being let down, where somebody wasn't there for you when you thought that they should, whether it was like tiny things where you've asked somebody to do something for you that was important to you, and then that person was like, yeah, 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 no problem, and then they didn't do it. And then this person sort of just like held on to it, and it was almost like just something within her that just couldn't let go of those things. And as those same themes stacked later on in life, it just had a huge mental effect on her that was draining. So it was very interesting to see all the years and how the same theme kind of just followed her.
Mm.
But within her, she was struggling with like anxiety and depression, just being let down all the time. And it wasn't anything like significant. Like, yes, as you get older, business and your job becomes more pertinent because now you're living off of that income. So that definitely had more significance than like obviously being in high school and a friend said, "Yeah, I'll meet you there," and then they kind of stood you up. Still, the feeling is
Mm.
the same, maybe with less intensity, but it's still there, right? So that kind of followed her. And just kind of how the body manifests those things. I kind of wanted to get into that a little bit. So there is a book out there. This obviously is not going to give you all the answers to all your problems, but it's called Heal Your Body.
Mm,
I don't know if you've ever heard of it before,
yep.
but inside they give you different types of ailments and then the types of problems that can cause those. And it's interesting. This is just kind of like a general thing that you can check and kind of check within yourself of like, oh, am I dealing with this? Oh my gosh, I have this problem. And then the underlying feelings that can kind of cause that to happen within the body.
Mm.
So that's a good place to kind of start, but again, it's not necessarily going to give you all your answers. Part of what we work with is the nervous system with the craniosacral system. So again, the craniosacral system is a semi-hydraulic system that is, it has its own separate rhythm from your heart, your lungs, your breathing, any type of rhythm naturally found in the body, it's completely separate from. So it's a semi-hydraulic system that goes in an expansion 3 to 5 seconds and inflection 3 to 5 seconds. And normally what happens in the body is, let's see if we can get this one on camera here. So this is your nervous system. Now on this side, you can see what looks like ribs, but they're not. They're actually the nerve lines underneath the ribs. On this side, you see the ribs. They're a little bit more, I don't know if
Hmm.
you can see
Yep. More
that.
more defined. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then the nerve lines go down your limbs and through all the way to the fingertips. So a lot of times the CSF, it travels mainly through the spine. So you can see that main part right there. That's where a lot of the CSF is contained, as well as in the cranium and the sacrum. Now the sacrum is going to be like the end 4 to 6 fused bones at the bottom. A lot of people kind of call that the tailbone. It's not really the tailbone. There's like what's called a coccyx. So that's kind of more of the tailbone that kind of, so you have your fused bones and then the coccyx kind of sticks out from underneath. So generally what we do is we work with that cerebral spinal fluid, and that cerebral spinal fluid tells us so much that's going on in the body. So what happens is when a trauma, whether physical, mental, emotional, or sometimes a combination of all the above, happens to the body tends to store it. So if it can't process it in the moment, what it does is it kind of creates what's called a vector, meaning it walls it off, reroutes around it, and doesn't deal with it. Now, the problem with that is when the CSF does not reach a point in the body, it is dying. The CSF is what brings the nutrition to that area and helps give the brain the signal that, hey, something hurts down here. So if you stub your toe, the first thing that happens is the cerebral spinal fluid goes all the way down where the pain source came from, travels right back up to the brain. And I mean, this is fast. I mean, like not even a second fast. It's faster than that. And your body processes, ow, oh my gosh, I got hurt. Something got hit. Add ice, get off it, grab it, rub it, bring nutrition to it. That's what we do when we rub. You know, when you bump something, you go, ooh, and you're rubbing it. You're trying to get more circulation there to kind of dissipate the inflammation right away. It's just a natural reflex that your body has. But that's what kind of circulates more nutrition to that area. Well, the problem with emotional things, we can't do that. It's more neurological. So the body sometimes just can't process it, whether it's too busy or it just can't wrap its head around it, or there's so much input that's more pertinent, whether it's danger, get out, or fire, or what's the nearest exit. You don't have time to necessarily process, oh my gosh, I just stubbed my toe in the middle of a fire. You're going to keep moving because that toe can wait. But with something more emotional, what the body can do is it can encapsulate it. So that's what it calls a vector. So the CSF, it kind of reroutes around it. But the problem is if that vector is left over time, it can manifest into physical ailments. So that's when we start tracing issues backwards. So when people come in with stacked issues, such as like very common things like reflex, I'm sorry, not reflex, but acid reflux. There we go. And IBS. They're very common things that a lot of people have. Yes, they can be caused from dietary issues, food allergies, or food sensitivity, excuse me. But a lot of an issue can be caused by an emotional issue. So, for instance, a lot of times what we find with IBS cases, when you start talking to them, they have a lot of emotional issues that have the common thread theme of they can't let things go. So it manifests in their body literally in a type of ailment that literally cannot let your own poo go. You start restricting, everything starts getting tighter, and you're just always angsty. So then you're not able to process things, and plus now you're having fecal matter buildup in you, which is basically you're almost if you're dehydrated, you're kind of your body's naturally going to pull it from your organs. And at that point, you're kind of drinking from the toilet. Like if your colon is just filled with fecal matter and then it has to absorb water from your organs, well, you're kind of that's where your body's getting it from, and it's not going to be, your pure filtered water that you would be normally intaking, right? So that can have some effects on the body and the way your mind works, and then just the way it kind of is a downward spiral where your mind just cannot lift itself out of it. It's not like you can give yourself a pep talk. So we get these cases where a lot of people are just struggling emotionally, and then they have these physical ailments. And then these physical ailments, it's quite interesting because if you start looking at the spine here, they have different nerve lines. And let me just show you this side first. So in between your spine, you have these nerve lines that branch out. And just as the picture that we showed you before, those branch all the way out and kind of end up in the hands and in the feet. Some of them end up through the shoulder. There's the brachial plexus in between your clavicle area. There's a bundle of nerves that goes under and down through the arm and all the way to each digit of the finger. So a lot of times when that happens, there's specific nerve lines on the spine. So for example, there is C5. So that nerve line has direct contact with your vocal cords, your neck glands, your larynx. So a lot of times C5, especially when someone's constantly going to the chiropractor, oh, my neck it just doesn't hold its adjustments. So we start asking, okay, what specific vertebrae is going out of place? Well, if they tell us, well, then we can kind of trace it back to what it's connecting to. A lot of times, for example, C5, because it's vocal cords, neck glands, and the larynx, a lot of times children or adults later on in life who have been silenced as a child, meaning we don't care what you think, what you want, or even what you need. What I say goes, and we don't want to hear anything from you. A lot of times when they're shut down or they have the impression that I can't really speak up for myself or things will not go well for me, they're silenced. So they either feel like they can't speak out, or if they have, they've received severe repercussions for it. So a lot of times the C5 vertebrae will not stabilize because then your body is now rerouting around it. So just to back it up a bit, why does the body do that? Well, the body, when you're born, you built yourself you started off as a single-celled organism, correct? And then you put yourself all together right in the perfect order. How'd you do that, Mr. Steve? Do you know?
It was a lot of hard work, a lot of studying, college.
College, straight from the womb.
Yeah, exactly. It's just evolution, I guess.
Evolution. Right? Well, no, actually. So your body actually organizes itself off of what's called midlines. You have a vertical midline and you have a horizontal midline. And when you start looking at a fetus and seeing how it develops, it's very specific. Now, you do have disruptions in the womb where, say, those midlines aren't where they should be. You do get cases occasionally that some infant is born with their organs outside their body, or a limb where it's kind of like off-centered, or like with an eye that's droopy, or just a facial expression that's not the norm, right? So something obviously went wrong there. And so the body wasn't able to organize itself off of those midlines properly. The problem is with the input of trauma, your body's going to reorganize around it if it can't process it. So, for example, on this, if we go back to the example of C5, if it's constantly going out, it has that nerve line has to do with the vocal cords, the neck glands, the larynx, anything that has to do with speech, your tongue. Sometimes people have restrictions in their neck where they're feeling, oh, I'm having trouble swallowing. But then they get checked out from the doctors and all these things, and like they don't have a sore throat, they don't have a bacterial infection, they don't like everything is clean, but they're like, I can't eat. I'm having trouble swallowing. When we start going through the somatic emotional stuff and the body actually is able to allow the trauma to come up and out as if it never happened, the body processes it and then kind of just kicks it out. Your body does this naturally every day. So now that I'm going to bring your attention to it, you're wearing a shirt, right? Did you
Mhm.
feel it before I ever said anything to you?
Feel the shirt.
Yeah.
Um,
You knew you were wearing it, but until I brought your awareness to it, were you just like constantly feeling it?
no, but I did the moment you said that.
Yeah, so your body is processing like millions of things per second. So, for example, your t-shirt, you put it on, you never paid attention to it after. You knew you needed it today, right? So,
Sure.
you're wearing it, right? But your body's not constantly concentrating on like it's on me, it's clinging to
Right.
me,
I feel
unless maybe
fabric.
you have
Yeah.
an itch or something because I don't know, a piece of lint or hair is bothering you. Then your attention gets brought to it, right? And then it
Sure.
signals do something about that, right? Whether it's get a new t-shirt, take out the lint or the hair, whatever. But your body's constantly processing that. So like your headphones and like everything that you're wearing, your body is like, okay, got it, kick it out. It's not pertinent to this situation. But when you add trauma to it, all of a sudden it's like clear the house. Let's focus on this one area. Now, if your body is not able to focus on it because, let's say, you have to get out of Dodge, you have to comply to survive in a situation, whether it's um, a meeting that you're kind of getting grilled at work, or it's a situation where you're hurt, but your parents really don't want to hear you screaming and crying and carrying on, so they tell you to turn off the waterworks. And then you're left to deal with either a physical or emotional issue on your own. Depending on your age, that can depend on how easily or not so easily you're able to do it. So,
KellyAnne, I have to tell you, this is just mind blowing because I'm in my journey aware of a lot of what you're talking about, the traumas, learning how it gets into the cellular level and all of that. I did not know that one of the modalities to support this is craniosacral therapy. I had no idea. For me, hypnotherapy, that worked to identify certain things from the past and how they translate to now. And you mentioned a few things, but and let's go down this road. Sacral.
mhm.
Um, that's not the word I'm looking for. It's a chakra at the base of your spine. And you use
Okay.
that solar plexus, maybe?
So solar plexus, I believe, is in the abdomen. I don't normally work with chakras. So craniosacral work is completely
Yeah,
just
yeah. But it's interesting
different.
how those traumas can mess up the energy within our chakras. Like, for example, talking about the throat, there is a chakra there, you know? So I wonder if there's a connection, but either way, had no idea what you do and what you provide helps with these traumas from back in the day. Had no idea. Amazing.
Absolutely. So chakras and like subo points and all those things that there's correlation, but they are completely separate. So I just want to make that distinction.
Sure.
Because we're working directly with the nervous system and the semi-hydraulic system that the craniosacral system has. Chakras and stuff are different points in the body, not necessarily pinpointed to nerve lines, not to say that they're not parallel with them. But again, that's a completely different field. You're working with like energy versus we're actually working with cerebral spinal fluid, which can have an effect emotionally on people because your nervous system, that's what it is. There's a lot of emotion in it. There's a lot of fight or flight. There's the parasympathetic system. There's the sympathetic system. So your body, if it's continually in fight or flight, it's going to break down your body in very specific ways according to the input of trauma. Now, also, it can break it down according to the output of trauma. So, for example, if you have something internally that's causing your body to break down, whether you get sick, pink eye, whether it's serious cancer or not, that can cause internal trauma that comes out, and that's when it starts affecting your life. Or it can be the input of trauma where it still breaks the body down from the outside in and it causes you to have problems that affect your lifestyle
Wow.
or your mindset. So it can go both ways.
Before we run out of time, let's say somebody is having a challenge with a smaller trauma from the past. We'll just call it that,
Mm-hmm.
the little T trauma.
Sure.
To your point, could have been a situation where let's say your dad, quiet, the children are seen and not heard, right? You never got to speak your mind. Now it's residing in your C5. It's bypassing everything that you described. How do you support somebody? How do you help somebody through that?
Yes, absolutely. So more than likely what they're going to do is like C5 is going to be completely going out quite often. So they're going to go the whole chiropractic route. They're probably going to go the whole medical route. They're probably going to get CT scans. They're going to get MRIs. They're going to
Sure.
get black and white contrast, and they're going to come up dry. Other than maybe I'm constantly going to the chiropractor every couple days and it's still not holding, not sure why. So a lot of times we'll get referrals in. And what we do is we start asking them questions kind of like, hey, is there anything that brought this on? So making sure there's no impact injury. So no car accident, no whiplash, no head injury as a child. We kind of rule all those out first. Then we
Sure.
start realizing, okay, well, this has got to have an emotional component to it. So that's when we start working on the spine itself. So just like I brought your awareness to your t-shirt, sometimes we don't have to say anything to clients because a lot of times they're coming in absolutely clueless. I have this problem and I have no freaking clue why.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. So that's when we start working on the spine. And that's when sometimes just a gentle touch on someone's back, they'll shoot right off the table. Like, oh my gosh, that hurts so bad. What did you hit? Nothing. Just basically bringing your body's awareness to where the trauma is being stored. Your body now has no choice but to process it. So that's when we support people on the table and we just kind of talk them through it. Hey, this is what your body's indicating. That's this vertebrae, that's this nerve line. This is what's generally housed in this nerve line, whether it's guilt, shame, bitterness, anger, resentment, all those things. And a lot of times you can encase things like if you're having financial instability, a lot of times that's found in like the chest and the heart complex.
But that could come from a trauma as well. That could go back to how many
Yeah.
times have we heard from our parents? What are you doing as a kid? Money doesn't grow on trees. Hey, you gotta
Right?
be careful
Stupid
what you spend.
spending.
Right. So then right away you're shut down. So now you gravitate through life thinking, I gotta be careful, or I'm never gonna have enough money. You always come from a place of lack because you were back then as a kid. We're out of time. I could keep going. My mind is blown.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I had no idea that what you offer supports this. When we say this, I've been learning about it, studying it for the last number of years, had no idea this was connected to it. And it all has come crystal clear for me how the body stores the trauma. And another mind blow, how it will bypass the trauma. Your C5. Yeah, we'll work around that, but that's still in there. From a comment that you heard when you were 7 years old, you could have been passing the kitchen and heard something. It wasn't even for you, but
Yep.
not all kids will do this. Some will. You internalized it. Oh my God, that was for me. And then you lived your life with that. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Where are you located?
So we are located in Pennsylvania, Camp Hill area, and it's near the Harrisburg location, capital. So we are at 355 North 21st Street, Camp Hill, PA 17011. And then we're at Suite 300. And you can contact us at 717-516-0959, or you could check out our website at kaclinicalmassage.com. And those are the ways that you can pretty much look into what we have to offer, and we'd love to help you out.
Amazing. I really mean that. And for those, let's say they don't want to do hypnotherapy. Some people have an aversion. Some people don't want to revisit the past. Sometimes the past can come up. This seems like it would be an alternative to that, to
Yes,
eradicate.
our job is not to have you relive the trauma. It's for
Yeah.
you to process it and then be able to move forward.
Thank you so much for today.
Yes, thank
Really
you for
cool.
having me.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.